You advocate for a hybrid model that blends subscription and usage-based pricing. Can you break down why this approach works best for Gen AI applications?
I'm actually surprised we haven't seen more of these models yet. There's a lot to be gained from that approach. When you started to see these user-facing Gen AI products like ChatGPT and Copilot and so forth, that's right. The initial move was to price it unlimited use on a per seat basis. That's generally the model that came out, which of course is about as traditional SaaS as you can think. We've got this incredibly new tech. We're saying everything's different, and we go right back to what the sort of probably the most comfortable SaaS pricing model is. I don't think it's a terrible model in itself. For some of these assistant type platforms, there is unique value that keeps coming for every single user who uses it, provided they're going to use it well, right? It's not that it doesn't make sense and the value doesn't scale with users. But I think because we have the cost issue and we don't know exactly how much people are going to use it, then the price level that you end up having to set for that per user license ends up having to be really high in order for you to hedge. Like Copilot was priced at $30 per user, which is more than you'd pay for the entirety of the Office suite. In addition to
Right.
that, so it's a really high price to get people in at. If you want to build comfort and get people adopting it, that's a barrier to that approach. That's tough to get around. You could also argue that value does scale with usage to a certain extent here. You could have one user paying $30 and getting an insane amount of value given the amount that they're using it, and somebody who's not getting really much. So you're not price differentiating particularly well with that offer. Then if you go to pure usage, that's sort of the next sort of wave of price models you see when we're pricing very granularly by usage. You're now far more able to scale with costs, so you can cover that far more accurately. You can get down to lower price levels, which also makes sense. But you get to problems there as well, I think, because although value probably does directionally scale with usage, in that people will probably not argue that the more I use this, the more value I get. I don't think people will necessarily always argue that if I use it three times as much, I get three times as much value. I think when anybody who's interacted with these tools like ChatGPT, they incur costs every single time you type a query and the machine runs. But you don't necessarily get value every time you ask it a question. You usually have to ask it several questions to get the thing that you are looking to get to. If you're charging customers for every single, for want of a better word, ping of the system, they're going to start questioning whether this is really valuable or not, because I'm having to pay extra for every single one of these. Plus, you get to the situation where, as a buyer, I don't know exactly how much all my users are going to use this, so I don't know how much I'm going to end up paying. It's the very like typical pains of usage-based pricing that you see back in the SaaS world. So I think that model has some issues as well. The hybrid model that we got to, where I think you're charging by users, you're giving user licenses, but you're scaling the price of those user license by tiers of usage, marries the best of both of those worlds. In that situation, you can create a low usage, low price version, could even be free, and you can make sure that people then can dip their toe in the water and experience it and try to understand the value and get somebody who's maybe not using GenAI to start using it. But then you have a mechanism within your licenses to bring people up to higher price levels as their prices increase. I might not want to pay for 300 additional transactions, but I might be okay saying if my usage level doubles, I'll pay an extra whatever it is, 40%. That might make sense to me. You marry the models, you still have a way of scaling with value and with cost, but you keep the nice simple user based model, which keeps everything easy to engage with. You are starting to see some players getting towards that point. I think ChatGPT have a couple of different tiers. I don't
Mhm.
necessarily think they've thought about the tiers in exactly the right way, but it's moving into that general structure. We're going to see more gravitation towards that kind of an approach going forward.
Yeah.